content, which is more very important. Then in this unit will help you to identify how to deal with the controversial content elements, explain how to become media literate with advertising, and define media literate in sports content, and describe the media violence and media literacy. So as we understand, the media literacy is something where we are, gathering of the information and interpretation, posting the information. Yeah. But today we commonly talk of various types of literacy, such as financial literacy, digital literacy, and all those things. So, as part of that one, even we have to see that the media literacy has to be taken into the concern with the growing social media information that are being, put where tons of information we are getting. So, how do we become literate with understanding the content? It is very important. Media literacy is very important in the direction of human development. And we see that, we are in a generation where we are drowning in news. So everybody reports, rehashes, comments, shares, recommends, likes, aggregates, and pins the information. So article now with the artificial intelligence, articles are being written, the content farms, satirical sites, fake news sites, campaigns. There's so much that is happening in the media, social media and the media, everything. So, however, we are seeing that, yet paradoxically, we are striving for real content and for the real healthy habits of the news consumption. So, in a healthy democracy society, professionalism in journalism is very important, because we are not trying to give or put a compulsion or share the information about the views and opinions, but rather than you have to give the information where it is having impact on the social issues and economic issues. So for that one, it is very important that you have to set aside your personal biases, be open to the information that challenges your assumption. You have to, remove your emotions and focus on the news as a critical thinking exercise. So how do you come out of the personal bias? How do we identify the news is a news? So we see that, when the news comes with the unchecking and comes with the personal bias, then there is a possibility 100% for sure that, it is something where the news is something where it has been manipulated to form in public opinion, or it has been manipulated for the own self-concern. So for that, you have to set your personal bias aside. Then you have to maintain the focus. It is very important here, because as part of our storytelling, as part of a good news, we have to identify it as a good news, news literacy. This maintaining your focus is very important skill that you have to develop. To make a point to spend less time on certain other stories is also very important. You have to sharpen your recognition of what stories or the spectrum you are relevant to. Then diversify your news sources. So the news what you come is only the information, but it becomes a news in with a proper sense when you have a reliable sources and also authentic information related to that one. And if you have a multiple sources, then there are less chances of the bias. So in this era, you have to differentiate how journalism and other forms of information are different. So we see this vast media landscape is now going through having lots of lines of news, opinions, propaganda, advertising, publicity, entertainment, and raw information is increasing very much. So if you are not able to distinguish about between this, then you open yourself to manipulation. You are being not literate about all these issues, then you are definitely prone to manipulation. So everybody has to be interested and has to follow what is web traffic, what is web attention, emotions, loyalty, privacy, and more. So interest groups, think tanks, and activists produce content that is sometimes legitimate, but other times it is not. So when we say opinion is defined as a view, judgment, or appraisal formed in the mind about a particular matter. We see it with the op-ed pages, TV talking heads providing commentary and analysis. So all those are opinion based. So op-ed must be grounded in accurate facts. The fringe individuals and groups are entitled to their opinions like everyone else, but the media must not represent the views as indicative of a wider trend. An analyst must have an undisclosed conflict of interest. Yeah, the as to have a better check of the information, the talk shows that are being shown should have a balance and should avoid imbalance line of guest, and should not go into derogatory or something claim, or try to neatly resolve complex issues. These are the characteristics of what are known as the journalism of affirmation, which aims to build viewer loyalty. So if you follow all those things, then you will definitely have a viewer loyalty. A quick word about advertising. Yeah. So native advertising, editorials, targeted ads, and other forms of marketing further muddy the media waters, requiring new literacy skills to navigate. Some practical tips to distinguish between news and ads. Michael Spikes of Stony Brook has advised that to look for the fairness. For example, a piece of independent journalism on a product would mention downsides and competitors. So it is not only promotion of the product, but also for writing a publicity article about including even the ups and downs and limitations and advantages and disadvantages, and about the competitors also. So the other point where you can distinguish is with the comparing the story with what mainstream news reports are saying, and beware of selling tactics that were the wheel of news. So you have to be concerned about that one. Then verification, approaches of verification versus assertion is very important as part of the media literacy, as part of understanding the media messages. So what verification refers to stories where reporters proactively and independently corroborate the facts, bring the facts, and demonstrate transparent methods in delivering the content, isn't it? So when you are verifying, that means you are giving an authentic information. This approach values accuracy and context also, whereas the assertion refers to stories based on statements attributed to sources that are not necessarily first-hand, whether we are talking about government officials and or about any another issues. So this is how we see that the kind of turmoil that is happening in the media is because it is the fight of verification versus assertion. So verification is from all the corners verified, whereas the assertion is something where one particular statement is being, forwarded or to be put in somebody's mouth. So to distinguish between journalism of verification and assertion, look at all the sources of information in the report. You are dealing with the journalism of verification when you see the reporter's effort of verification, such as multiple. So if you have multiple sources, independent thinking, and a clear distinction between facts and analysis, then that is a verification. While assertion journalism, the report cites officials or already reported accounts and figures it as a passive stenographer. So as part of that one, to give a fair and honest report, there are some questions a journalist should or a person who is part of the journalism should ask, that whether your report makes an effort to verify information and that has come with the multiple sources, or these signs the reporter isn't taking information at the face value. Does the report signal what details are not yet known? Does the report make a clear distinction between facts and analysis? That means the 5W1H content has to be covered. Yeah. And also at the same time, you have to identify what's new and why now. So after any news story, you have to, the journalist who writes should understand that, exactly what information did the report tell, the report that you have filed is telling all about. Was the information significant, incremental, filling in the gaps of the something has to be understood. So why this event is happening, and what is the significance of happening? Checking the date and whether it is an old or new story that is existing on the social media has to be understood. This is very important because we find old stories coming new, and because we don't have information, we tend to believe that it is a trending story. So And then understanding what is the importance of the story, the understanding that the reporter getting a scoop, did a source disclose information or not, is something will help you to promote a good media literacy and also understand the news content. So you at the same time you have to test in terms of accountability, credibility, and read beyond the lines. So all these are very important. But at the same time we also see that there are controversial content elements. Controversy is often something where we cannot say that what is like and dislike between two people will lead to different sorts of opinions. So controversies could be the beyond the blame, beyond the debate. Children and people of all ages. We have very violent images from the media that and the popular culture. The parameter of this problem, we see that they are complex and interrelated. Media literacy is very important, necessary component of any effective effort or to violence prevention. So, a healthy democracy requires a well-informed and active public. That's why we take our freedoms of information, expression, and journalism very seriously. And we have to improve the news industry becoming reporters or publishers. Boosting our news literacy skills makes us a savvier audience. That is a continuously use. We can raise the bar of journalism simply forcing the media to respond to our demand. So controversy is something which is within a person, within the eye of the beholder. The best way to prevent a subject from becoming controversial is to importantly verify the information in the context from the reliable source, which are truthful, accurate, and thorough and complete reporting. So that way we can avoid that one. Now, related to the health issues and all those things, journalists routinely attempts to try to balance different aspects and competing with the significant constraints and competing, having a cutthroat competition. They perceive the most trusted sources on health issues to be respected even by the independent doctors. Health and medical reporters are specialists, have sound technical knowledge, challenges to appropriate sources, power within the organization, and ability to advocate. So, medical issues are widely reported in the mass media. These reports influence the general public, policymakers, and healthcare and professionals. So therefore, it should be valid, and it is, we see that it has been criticized for being speculative, inaccurate, and misleading. An understanding of obstacle media literate meet in their own work can guide strategies for improving. So when we are reporting in health, all those things, it is a specialized reporting where you have to have a thorough knowledge. And the values definitely, in the media literacy, it is not new, but the recent, the building up of the essential skills has highlighted on some loopholes that are related to the traditional approaches. So traditional media literacy focuses on how to find diverse information sources and assess competing claims. But so how do we confirm the way the news is being impacted to the society and the individual? So we need the help of news producers and people who are working here to be involved in the production and distribution of the news and information. And journalists can lead the charge for being accurate, fair, following the basic principles of journalism. Media literacy helps helps in avoiding us to become the victims of fake news. Bullying, hate speech. So this is all very important. So understanding advertising in terms of media literacy and social media platforms or the traditional and conventional media platforms. So advertising literacy refers to personal knowledge of people having insight into the advertising. It's a persuasive intent. What is advertising? It is something, a persuasive act, and has something where it is trying to get a prospective customer. So here we see that the recent developments in the media landscape, the lines between the commercial message and media content have blurred. So there is a thin line difference between understanding the media content related to the commercial message and also to the media content. So minors who are still developing their advertising literacy skills have difficulty identifying and coping with the new advertising types. So media literate viewers should be aware of the constructions, codes, and conventions of the media messages. At the same time, understanding audiences' reading and interpretation of the media. They have to acknowledge that the people with different experience perceive and interpret the message differently. So a media literate person should have greater knowledge of advertisement content industry, and should be able to apply these knowledge structures to evaluate the advertising messages they come across. So audience should be able to analyze audience advertisements are all pretty ubiquitous. Whether we consume old or new media, advertising plays an important role in whatever we engage. So there is so much of a, at the same time when we have impact of media, at the same time the impact of advertisement is also major in our life. So how do we analyze advertising? Yeah, so advertising including on so much is including so much on our lives that we try to see that it is having an emotional appeal and technical and design components that it targets and grabs our attention. So at this time, sir, this can be understood, or we have to realize what is being sold from sponsored content with the impartial articles, cleverly placed products attempting into our minds or into our daily use. So there is so much of omnipresence of the advertising, and advertising is something where it has been reinforced activity. So advertising is something, a continuous thing that happens. So we have to be very careful. Media literacy in the sports content. Sports, as we understand itself, is another vast area of journalism. So the media are the bridges between us and the rest of the world, where they try to give. So it could be related to the what is that T20, or you have any other sports arena where they it might be of your interest. So sports literacy may not challenge to the otherwise leave the aspiration of sports fans. Yeah, not only the journalist. They seek to identify with athletes and teams to use sports as a way to socialize and perhaps to do their mental mastery of sports through fantasy leagues and betting pools. So, responsibility of media literates of the sports content is to verify the facts given to you and find the truth behind the rumors about the players. So, here, what are we trying to do a fact checking or understand the media literacy in terms of the sport is where you have to find the rumors about the players, athletes, sports commentators. When you remember when Virat Kohli was about to get married, there were so many rumors, there was so much of memes, there was so much of misinformation and disinformation. So that is why we feel that there is a sports literacy also to be done as part of the media literacy. To be a media literate in sports content, you need to have the skills that is keen, understand, have a keen interest in playing or watching sports, great observation skills, and eye for accuracy, patience and tact, resourcefulness, curiosity, and research skill. So, media literacy must have understand the rules of all sports, study the teams. You need an excellent knowledge of sports so that you can educate your readers. So, if suppose you are on a social media and you are developer, message developer or something, so you need to have a thorough knowledge, and where you should certainly have a credibility. So the journalist should try to cover all the areas while you are trying to content. Results. This is the most important part of any sports coverage. People will buy a newspaper, listen to the sports bulletin just to find what are the results. So you so you should try to carry the results of every sporting event which may interest some of your readers. Then you have league tables. Then you have reports. So league tables are something which has one and have higher up the league table, while another team which has lost may slipped on the league table. It is important to the followers of any league. It could be football league or something. So giving an analysis of the league table is very important. In the reports of a match is a description together with an analysis of what it happened. The sports reporter can often explain the way in which one's team tactics prevented the other team from playing well. Then you have an analysis and previews. So then you have sports news and sports feature. So media violence and media literacy implication in individuals. This is a major issue that is really concerned with the media. Yeah. So media literacy is also very important to understand in terms of the violence. So when we say violence, it could be through the news content, it could be through the video games, it could be through movies, it could be through books, music, cartoons, anything. Yeah. And it has become, we are not able to avoid it because of the explosion of the technology and all those things. So heavy exposure to the violent media can lead to the desensitization too. So we need to keep an eye on interactive media violences. There's no way accurately measures whether there's much or less violence in the past, but the pervasiveness of it is in the interactive forms such as social media is relatively a new thing. See, like we have what you have PUBG and all those things are also part of this media violence only. Though it is very difficult to define what is the media violence. Some experts who track violence in television programming, such as the late George Gerbner, defined violence as an act or a threat of injuring or killing someone, independent of the method used or the surrounding context. So, George Gebner has defined media violence where you try to injure or kill try to injure someone or kill after watching one particular scene or concept or a media message. But others, such as University of Laval Professor Gay Pacquiao and Jacques Dickis, specifically excluded cartoon violence from their research because of its comical and unrealistic presentation. So, whereas Gerbner also has included the cartoon violence. But a cartoon violence example could be Tom and Jerry. Though we find it so jovial and so funny, but still, the study has revealed that because of the Tom and Jerry episodes or the cartoon episodes, there was a kind of an violence being practiced among the child in foreign countries. So Gebner has used while the other professors have ruled out. So second, we see that researchers disagree over the type of relationship the data supports. Some argue that exposures to the media violence causes aggression, yeah, but they can sometimes they not have any causal connection. But directly or indirectly, we see that there is an impact of the glorification of the media will definitely have an impact on viewers. So that way, it has to be seen that the media has to have a social and political implication. Here, the media should have a great influence on politics and on forming social change. The television can play a very important role in the election of a national leader based on the image the media involves us in the concerns such as civil rights. One second. Huh? So, it should have mostly a social and political concern involving the civil rights issue, famines, AIDS epidemic or corona or anything medical related. This gives us a sense of national issues and global concerns that we have become citizens of a global village that was defined by Marshall McLuhan. Yeah. Then we have aspects in developing media literacy. So here, when we are saying media literacy, we have to understand that there are certain aspects through which we will understand the news concept or the media messages. So this lesson is basically trying to explain us the developing media literacy of various aspects like cognitive, emotional, and moral. Then it is describing the interpersonal techniques of media literacy. It is talking about the interventional nature of media literacy and elucidating the public education, the societal techniques of media literacy. So we see that developing media literacy, there are different reasons for the media exposure. It varies from person to person. So we should always remember that we are placing ourselves at the risk of unwanted effects if we expose ourselves to the mindlessly. So you have to be very much cautious that what you are being exposed to, the messages should be of your related. If not, it is all in the vague. So with a little effort, we could increase our control over the content and perhaps increase our enjoyment of the content by developing or experiencing a stronger emotional reaction or great appreciation or having a aesthetic change characteristics in the messages. So if we continuously ask ourselves for what you get from the media exposure, it will help us to identify that what is the information you're looking for, the process, the material actively is being used to select those facts and categorize them will be well understood. If instead you want to be entertained by establishing a parasocial interaction with a particular character that is attractive to you, then you have to be aware of attraction and how it might be affecting you. So by repeating, you have to make a practice of keeping a diary of media usage for a week, because this will help you to monitor your changing interest in the media or the messages you are being exposed to. You try to increase the variety in your media exposure. Variety will broaden your interest and perhaps. So instead of going mindlessly, if you are planned, it will be helping you. You have to develop active media habits by practicing or getting rid of the bad habits. So active processing and high involvement media reduces unwanted. So you have to be highly an active user of the media. Then you have a generic concept. So for example, reading a magazine article requires some skill not required when watching a comedy on television. So the genres that you are following, it is very important. So the nature of differences of program is so obvious that you have to you use yourself according and you grab the information according to your taste. If you watch a story on a CNN and look for the story in your local newspaper, they are totally different because they are the different skills to be required. So these differences will become even clear for a radio and a magazine. So what we see is that, depending upon the media that you're using, so your conceptualizing of the events also differ. At the same time, you should see that, you should control your media habits also. Increasing your level of media literacy definitely gives power to control the media exposures and understand the effect of that one. Lower media levels of literacy at the same time can be, something where you can face a problem because you might not have a better understanding. So the mass media are composed of the business that are very sophisticating, how to attract your attention and condition for the repeat exposures. So when we are saying a control, you should know how do you get out of irrelevant topics. Acquiring media literacy can be truly successful if you consider that the relationship between specific need of the media and the way you are understood by insights of the information. On the one hand, there are great hopes and expectations of modern day technology, and it is believed that they will enrich children's lives. So, they will produce imagination that prodigy imagination and creativity, expand knowledge, or encourage a multicultural tolerance and development of democracy. But at the same time, there is a fear it might dull children's emotions and develop indifferences towards another man's suffering. Yeah, which is very much visible these days, and encourage destructive behavior and lead to a decline in the state of moral values. So media directs and controls human desire, conviction, and attitudes, offering content suitable for the purpose. These changes range from low to extremely significant by giving information about events all over the globe. Starting from a presumption that social actions are mediated by meaning, in the context of human communication, exchange of information occurs every day. Life requires young people to be informed. So you can acquire, it is important for us to acquire because it is our day-to-day routine, and we see that, there's so much of exchange of information that is happening. Goal of Media literacy. So what exactly, why are we talking about the media literacy? The goal is, definitely it has certain goal. The goal is that to give young people theoretical knowledge about mass communication, media, their cultural and social and political implications, and to account a possible misuse and enable them to read and analyze messages the media gives them. And at the same time, it helps to create their own aspect of media culture that comprises the ability of understanding and critical relationship towards the message. So the goal is basically to make, to empower the young people with a theoretical knowledge of the mass communication, talking about the socio-economic political implications, and also make them understand the possible misuse. Yeah, so that they curtailed on those things. So they need to be taught how to use the media as an instrument of social change, to master criteria for selecting and evaluate information the media is placing, and to familiarize themselves with alternative forms of media culture. So that is how we find there is a certain goal in the media literacy. There are certain advantages also. There are primarily three advantages. That is, it helps to develop a higher degree of media literacy. Firstly, it increases media literacy. Your appetite for a wider variety of media messages will grow. Secondly, you learn how to program your own mental codes. Then thirdly, you are able to exercise control over the media. So these are the advantages. Then to help you aware of differences in media literacy development, there are certain examples how people react on different types of media. Those reactions can be understood when compared to the learning ladders, of cognitive, in terms of cognitive approach, emotional approach, and aesthetic appreciation. The learning ladders what remind us that we can improve our degree of literacy in three areas, that is cognitive, emotion, and morality. So progressing the information of this each ladder is accomplished by mastering the skills of analysis, evaluation, grouping. So while you are learning, then you should have an information, and you have to have the analysis skills of analysis, evaluation, grouping, induction, deduction, synthesis, and abstracting. These are all research related things where a person, if you have to be a media literacy, should have these skills. Then cognitive ladder is the first. The first step is awareness, which is the ability to perceive the information elements in the media message. This definitely requires an analysis, and then later on, if you are having an analysis, then you will have an understanding. This ability to perceive the relevant components in any message and then grouping them to see how these elements are related to each other. So that cognitive ladder is something where it will help you to group the messages and understand the elements, how they are related. To do this, a person needs a great deal of context in the form of elaborate knowledge structures. Yeah, at the highest step, people are able to appreciate a message by comparing it to the understanding of the messages that are being produced. So that cognitive ladder of making understanding how important the message is, and how you take that context is very important. Then there is an emotional ladder. So emotions play a very important role in each and individual's life. If you are aware what they are doing, then the use of media to manage mood is a sign of high levels of media literacy. So with the media literacy, you will be able to manage your high levels of media literacy according to the situation that demands. People are consciously using the media as a tool to satisfy a particular need. At the same time, in contrast, people are depressed and don't know how to do. They may watch television by default until they are tired enough to fall asleep. This is not a good controlling of the exposure, and hence it is a low media literacy. So you should be aware whether you should watch that program or not. And emotional ladder is something where you see a movie and cry and you cannot stop and all those things. Are you experiencing after seeing the media messages? Is a part of the emotional ladder. Moral ladder has levels, low level, middle level, and higher level. So moral values ladders require the depth.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
Seeing movies and reacting and all Is it sensitive or something?
Yeah, it is not sensitive, it is the cognitive thing.
Okay.
You see, that is what we are seeing, no? If you are able to control, this media literacy will help you. Okay, this is part of a program that you are seeing. Sometimes it touches. So the message, the creator of the producer of the message sees that, it gives an emotional appeal. In the previous classes, we have learned that, media messages are also having a cognitive appeal and emotional appeal. So these are all the emotional appeals that are being produced by the messenger. So whether if it is connects with you, you will react to it. If it doesn't connect with you, it doesn't react. So there we cannot rule out, it is not sensitive issue, because if it is a sensitive issue, then we will understand ourselves. To differentiate whether it is sensitive or not is a very big issue. But when we are media literate, we have to put our cognitive understanding to the messages. And as we understand, when we watch some messages, there is a change in our thought process, and therefore there is an hormonal process that happens, which leads only to the tears or to the laugh, isn't it? So that way, we see that the messages have an impact on an individual depending upon the kind of a control they have on understanding. So if you are media literate, then you will be able to understand whether you have to react to that particular situation or whether you don't have to react. So when emotional issues come, we overreact.
Question.
Sorry,
Ma'am, I had a question.
Yeah.
Question. So when you were mentioning about movies, the query was related particularly to movies.
Yeah.
Whether it's cognitive or emotional or sensitive. I
Yeah.
also believe that some movies may have a sensitive issue also.
Yeah.
Like recently, a big budget film released on a religious
Yeah.
context, and that caused a lot of sensitive, along with emotional and cognitive. But I think it connected or disconnected a lot among the related
viewers.
Right. Yes.
Your voice is breaking. Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I was having a bit of a bad throat.
Oh, yeah.
So the question is that it depends on the type of media, isn't it? Even if it is cognitive and people are media literate, but there are instances where people go beyond the cognitive and emotional ladder and go to, the sensitive aspects as well.
Yeah, ma'am. See, the issue is that, it is some fiction-based story. Though it is based on mythological scriptures or something where it has some values connected to the human beings, it relates. That is one part, one content, one part of the picture, movie. The second part is a presentation of that particular script. Here, in that context, what happened was that the treatment of script was not proper. So script treatment is very important while you write the messages.
I missed that. I'm sorry.
So, here, the treatment of the script is very important.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
So treatment of the script was improper, where it has led to all these controversies. The story is the same old story with same old values. Sorry. Yeah. Everybody knows what it is. How that movie was different with its presentation. Isn't it? So here, whether it is cognitive, whether it is sensitive, we have a freedom of expression of speech or something. We have a modern Ramayana, we have a satirical Ramayana, and all those things, to only few to quote. So here, everybody has their way. but when it is coming into the public domain, the values should be, upholded, so that, it doesn't lead to any controversies. So the treatment of this movie script was very important. The treatment could be in terms of effects. The treatment could be in terms of the language. The treatment could be in terms of physical appearances. So all this were something, it made the whole content as more of a fictional content that has developed. When it comes to the beliefs and opinions, or the public values, that is one's own perception. What is right to you cannot be a right to XYZ. So we leave to the producer will leave to the audiences. The producer will leave it to the viewers. He's not there where he will try to satisfy, saying that, this is how that particular script has proved the mythological evidences or something. So that way, the cognitive, that is the reason why we feel that, presently in the situation, in this particular situation, even the child needs to have a media literacy, because without a proper understanding of the media, they have been prone to the risk. They are trying to go, much away of the times, or, trying to indulge into the activities which they are not supposed to. So the media literacy will provide you to understand. Suppose if you are a movie goer and regularly you see, or you're a film critic or something, you see here, so you will see it as a one perception that, it is the creativity, the producer's creativity that he has put, though in a bad taste, and you leave it. You will not make it a controversy. So that cognitive and emotional appeals everywhere, it doesn't connect if the script of the treatment is not properly done. So therefore, it is not justified. So here, it is not about the cognitive issues. It is only the script treatment that was bad in taste. Fine. So the emotional ladders and cognitive ladders definitely are very important, and the moral ladders. See, any media messages have this learning ladders, cognitive ladders, and emotional ladders, and moral ladders. So if you are morally high, if you have a higher levels, then you think past the characters and focus on overall narratives. Exactly, I think this is what we should be able to understand. The moral ladder requires the development of opinions which are ethical or unethical. So if you have a low level, you construct moral judgment based on intuition of someone's else judgment. This is what has happened with that particular movie. And if you had a middle level of understanding, then you distinguish the characters on their values, identify with those who have same values as you. And the higher level, you just go with the narrative and you forget all the characters. So this is how you need to have a moral ladder while you are trying to judge any media messages. So moving on, I hope I have answered your question. Then,
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then
from this, the understanding is that it may have.
It is only a presentation.
Multiple yes.
Yeah. So ultimately, what matters is your level of maturity of understanding the issues. So if you have a low level, we'll jump to the conclusions as if the whole world has jumped, and everybody try to judge that one. So middle level, okay, these are the characters. Okay, Sita has been, projected in that way. Mata Sita has been projected. Bhagwan Ram has been projected in that way. The middle level. Higher level, we only go with the narratives. So cognitive levels may not connect well. Emotional levels may raise a question. But moral ladder with the different levels of your understanding will help you to have a better understanding, so that it doesn't create a controversy, but you can leave a healthy suggestion to anybody. Rather than going to a controversy, a healthy suggestion could build up that, rather build up the script of that particular media message in a proper way, isn't it? Instead of getting criticized or judging that one. Yeah. So we have very short term, we have another topics to be covered. We'll move on. Yeah. Then interpersonal techniques are also very important. interpersonal techniques can be used by parents to help their children increase media literacy. See, now in these present areas, children having a media literacy is very important. If you ask them to stop using the phone, that they will only have a rebel. But if they have a proper media literacy, they will understand that, why there is a need to have a check on their usage of the media, especially referring to the social media. So these techniques can be understood at an interpersonal setting. See, you remember, we have interpersonal form of communication. So interpersonal form of communication is the most effective form of communication, where we will have one-on-one discussion. So that will help in getting an immediate feedback, so that you can come with an prospective suggestions. So that will help to resolve the whole issue. So interpersonal techniques as part of the media is very important. So there are three types of interpersonal techniques that we see, that is restrictive mediation, co-weaving, and active mediation. So according to the Porter, who is the author of a book, Media Literacy, this type of mediation involves setting rules about how much, when, and which type of television can be viewed. So this is with reference to the television world, but more than television, we see that even the television has come into our palms through our social media. So here, there are certain kind of interpersonal techniques that can be used for a child. That could be restrictive mediation, yeah, where the parent can come and explain what is restrictions to be done, or you can co-view with the child, and active mediation. Okay, so you try to be more active in making them understanding. So some rules may include, these are rules for television as well as for the social media that we see in these days. Then intervention techniques in media literacy. So these activities enhance, we have seen that, media literacy is something where everywhere are some part of the prevention strategies, as it helps you to understand critically the various kinds of media messages that are being developed through critical skills. So related intervention components include discussing persuasive media strategies, analyzing sample messages, and sometimes planning or producing messages to help adolescents become more aware of the nature of the messages, and teach them to be more adept at identifying motives and purposes. So here, these activities enhance critical thinking and decision-making skills to empower youth in order to make them less vulnerable to persuasive messages. So intervention techniques, to best example could be for the bad habits and all those things. So the children, not only the children, the adolescents and the young youth also are prone to those getting attracted to bad habits and all sorts of things. So these intervention techniques in media literacy will help you to understand the persuasive media strategies, analyze the sample messages, and help sometimes planning how to make better messages, so that the victim or the person who has gone to the bad habits can come out of it. So the recent examination of media literacy programs include 2 systematic reviews and meta-analytical review. The meta-analytical review concluded that media literacy interventions are generally effective for reducing potentially harmful effects, and the meta-analysis demonstrates the promise of media literacy. The 2 systematic reviews describes mixed results, with some programs reporting significant desired effects. So it is all about, the impact that we have. So there was recent reviews that have been come as part of the media literacy, and the meta-analysis has given that, with the proper intervention techniques, it can reduce the harmful effects. So intervention developers may target interpersonal communication outcomes as an indicators, and go into deliberate conversations, influence social norms via social networks. So they can as well use the platforms in a better way, so that they can promote a better environment. Then a moderator model. On the other hand, he suggests the post-intervention talk could facilitate or hamper intervention effect. Talking about an intervention after participation may strengthen. So it is like, after having all these intervention techniques, see, we tell the child not to see, and we show them the videos that what is the impact. You remember in the beginning when we had this smartphone coming, we saw so many messages that gave information that, child brain nervous system has damage because of the usage of this media, social media, and all those things. But it was still not going, not working for the child. Even the 6 months child is been given with the mobile. These days we see. So this moderator model is something where you will
Because
talk much. Yeah.
Because parents are busy, they give the mobile phone to those children, I think.
It is not that the parents are busy. Could be. It cannot be ruled out. But
Yeah.
if a parent is busy, that doesn't mean that the child should be open to the risky parts of the life, or should be open to the harmful effects of the media or something. The child doesn't know. The young child doesn't know what it is, but it will only see because it is grabbing the attention with the colors. The child at 6 months old doesn't understand what somebody speaks. How are they attracted? They are attracted towards the music, towards the cartoon that they see, towards the colors that come. Yeah, these are all the different ways, or these different messages that grab the attention of the child. Unfortunately, the parents, because of their tight schedule, because of their family system, they feel that they will have some personal space or have their own time for 10 to 15 minutes once they come out of handling the situation, at the cost of the child's health. So here, and the same parent is been shown all the videos that the doctor, tomorrow when the child will have a water coming from the eyes, the parent will rush to the doctor. So what will doctor say? Amma, did the child was accessing the mobile or not? So the parent already knows, though it doesn't intervene. So here the moderator model implies a lot, because it tries to help the parent understand that for your own space you cannot harm the future of a child in terms of health. It is stopping them in the sense of a thought process. It is affecting their health. The radiations will don't know what effect they will have on the body. So that way we see that it will only help. This moderator model will help the person to understand the unhealthy practices that have been happened when we come into one-on-one conversation. So the moderator role would be more helpful. Public education techniques in media literacy. This is very important because, here, especially when we take the example of our country, we see that these days, right now, when we are nearing to this election in a run-up to 2024, there's so many messages that come. So this public education is something where it is very important in the run-up of elections, because the political parties try to reach to the public in all the manners, in all the ways. So we have to see that these new communication technologies have to see that the public understand that how the messages are being produced, why the messages are being produced, what is the goal and aim and objective of the messages that are being produced. So media literacy represents on educational purpose where it is trying to enable members of the community to creative and critically study. So it is on its role where it is trying to explain that that with the help of the media literacy, it is a most important practice that has to be done in our daily lives, irrespective in all walks of ages, so that you understand that it has it is leaving some kind of an impact directly or indirectly. Then societal techniques in media literacy. So societal techniques focuses basically on exerting pressure on industry and government or institution to increase awareness about a change. So it should play something where it is trying to build the society. Then we have media influence, democracy, and dependency. So here, when we are talking about the media influence and audiences, we cannot deny that media has a powerful influence on individual beliefs, attitudes, and behavior. Thus, we see the social norms that influence and it influences and encourages gender violence has been targeted by the policy interventions by using mass media communication. So, media influence, we see there's a lot in our life. So, in terms of the behavior, we see there are some controversial stories are reported and printed without reliance of understanding the fact. Newspapers and magazines and websites, and especially when the websites and the social media, we see stories have been posted and received quicker than the printed articles are an update regularly. So link to these articles can be posted in social media platforms, and we use breaking news. So the behavior of so many people is influenced by media with information spread, and it is just a click away. And we are also media dependent. So can you stay away without your social media or with your phone? We will see that that there is so much of dependency as an individual, and in any democratic setup we see that there's a media dependency. So because we also have freedom of speech, Article 19(1)(a), which gives the freedom of expression of speech. So you have so much of message content being created. So we are anyhow related. There is a media pluralism. So media pluralism defines the state of having different voices, opinions, and analysis on media systems. So this has become a very big challenge now. See, everybody will speak yes, no, what, yeah, maybe or may not be. So that is a media pluralism, because we have recognized by an international organization and NGOs as an essential part of a democratic. Everybody can speak because we have Article 19(1)(a), which gives them freedom of expression and speech. So that's why we see media pluralism. Then there is a media in democratic society. So media in democracy plays a very important role because it is a fourth estate and has several functions. And but then it has to see that it is provoking public debates, leading to greater public participation. It should uncover abuses, pressures from their rectification. It should alert and mobilize the public opinion. So these are all the roles that the media has to play, and keep politicians attuned to public opinion. Then the media has a special role where it is essential to maintain distinction between facts and opinions while reporting. So to set the political agendas, explain issues without sensationalizing, and publish correction. So these are the certain roles that we see in a democratic country that we have. And politicians and journalists go hand in hand in any democratic country, because it is not the friendship, but it is the social setup that whatever the politicians do has to be explained to the public in order to understand what is their performance as they are the elected representatives. Then political economy and mass media. Well, PE, or the political economy, is an approach to studying media which focuses towards the ways in which media is produced, distributed, and consumed, rather than on analyzing. So political economy is something where the media, it is about all the channel of communication that passes through it. So it could be distribution, it could be produced. So it focuses on the ways in which politics and economics are not separate entities and often encountered within educational contexts. So they are functionally inseparable, and understanding elements is intangible and very important to understand its role in the society and the media. Yeah, its role exactly in the society. Then transparency has to be maintained. If we are not transparent enough, then how do we understand the message? So that is very important. So this political economy, it all depends upon there are several domains, including journalism, broadcasting, advertisement, and communication technologies. It basically has an approach, analyzes the power relationship between the politics, mediation, and economics. So this is all about the political economy, and thus we have come to the end of the syllabus and end of the classes in this session. If you have any queries, any doubts, anything to be asked, you can feel free to ask me, put a message, I'll get back to you. Yeah, I am ending the session because you might have another session. Any doubts? Shall I end the session?
Okay, madam. Thank you, madam. Parveen, madam.
Fine.
Thank
Okay,
you,
yeah,
ma'am.
thank you. So all the very best for your upcoming exams.
Ma'am, when
Thanks a lot.
will the exams,
Thanks a lot.
ma'am? Ma'am,
Yeah,
when
exam.
will next?
Yeah, we are not sure. Sunil can only clarify that one because they have.
We heard that August last week, madam.
Yeah, somewhere in the August the exams would be, but the date and all those things, the office from Sunil's office can clarify that one. So prepare well. If any doubts or anything, please let us know.
Even we are waiting for third sem result, madam.
Okay. We'll put our fingers crossed. Definitely, everybody will have a good result and a fine colors.
Ma'am, have you corrected, ma'am?
No, we don't have anything. I'm only for giving
Faculty.
and as a faculty, we are not aware of all these things.
Ma'am, some important questions can we get from your side?
Yeah, we will coordinate with Sunil and get back to you. Sunil will get back to you.
No, important questions on this subject, ma'am.
Yeah, that's what we, Sunil is coordinating related to that one. Once you are done with the assignments, after that time, we will pass on those, that information to you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
We take on breaks, so we don't remember. Once we have to give a glance once again and revise ourselves, then give the important questions to you.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, so we'll definitely get back.
Even assignments we did not get, I think.
Yeah.
Yes,
that will be assigned by Sunil again. Sunil is the wholesome person for all those things. We are only into the teaching. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. So all the best. I'm ending the session.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
day. Bye. All the best. Yeah, bye.
Okay, ma'am.